in this draft. I think you look at Patrick Surtain as second. A lot of people think he's the best corner. He's probably ready to go right away, and the Cowboys need a hole filler immediately. I think J.C. Horn is as well. An in-your-face corner with a complete corner with those great bloodlines with his father, Joe. I think it's a corner, whether it's Horn or Surtain. They're going to have to make that call.
All right, we will see one way or the other. They have that decision. Stephen Jones is one of the people who will make that decision. This is what he had to say regarding the 10th pick and the possibility of drafting Florida tight end Kyle Pitts.
You don't have to look very far to have a version, what we call the clips, that really, compiles all the media that's about the Cowboys that we get every day. And you don't have to look very far and see mock drafts that, have no tight end getting picked in the top 9 picks.
All right, so to be clear, Mel, the chances of Kyle Pitts being available at number 10 are extraordinarily remote, right? Or zero. One man's extraordinarily remote, there's another man's zero. I'll go there with you. So my question to you is, if the Cowboys want him, they're going to have to go up and get him. If they do that, I'll be sitting next to you Thursday night. What will you say?
Bad move. I don't think, not to get Kyle Pitts is not a bad move, but to give up all that it would take to get Kyle Pitts when you have a Civ-like defense that needs a lot of help. I would be better off, if I'm the Cowboys, backing off a 10 and picking up some extra choices. They're in no position, I think, to just try to outscore people. I mean, you got to think about the offensive line's got to get better as well. Kyle Pitts would be a great addition, a phenomenal addition. I think he's the second best player in the draft. If he fell to the Cowboys, it would be an easy decision. You take him over the defensive players. My thing is, I'm not giving up a lot of picks to go up and get him, and I don't think he'll be there where they're picking at 10. So unless they're going to be aggressive and go get him, they're not going to see Kyle Pitts. I don't care whatever, any projections and any mock drafts out there. There's no way the second best player in this draft is getting the 10. All
right, so Patrick Surtain, J.C. Horn. Dominique, I'll come to you, my cornerback friend. Should they take the corner, or should they be aggressive and try and get the tight end?
Obviously, you take the corner. Like, the corners are the most valuable position not named quarterback. But I do think that if they trade up, their idea is that they are going to outscore everybody on their way to the championship, which is not mind-blowing. Like, that's not a thing that can happen. I think it's unlikely to happen because the opportunity cost of the players you will be losing for the draft picks you would have to trade, I think, does debilitate their team. So they're going to go with that cornerback at that position. That's a smart thing to do. Or maybe look at one of those tackles to rebuild that offensive line. But I think corner is the decision right there. I'd go with Surtain, although J.C. Horn has the same NFL pedigree. His dad was a wide receiver, which that kind of cuts against him if you ask me.
It's a 4-time Pro Bowler. Joe Horn was the dad of J.C. Horn. And, of course, Patrick Surtain is the second. His father was the first. Tim Hasselbeck, let me come to you on that, because I could see a different way of looking at it, which is to say there probably isn't any one player who's going to fix that Dallas defense. You're going to need a lot of stuff. You wind up getting Kyle Pitts. That offense might genuinely be unstoppable. That would be the one way I could look at this and figure that it makes some sense. What are you thinking?
Well, what I'm thinking is that Stephen Jones is maybe finding some middle schoolers mock drafts or something. That's what I'm thinking. Like, I don't know what mock drafts he's looking at. You have Mel basically say there's no chance that he's available at 10. I don't think that anybody thinks that he's still going to be available at 10. And if we could kind of sit here and say that Dallas shouldn't move up if he for some reason, falls outside of, say, the top 6 picks, then look, maybe somebody else has the ammo to go move up to draft Kyle Pitts. So I just don't see any shot that he's available. I would not fault them if for some reason he was there at 10, but if he's there at 10, then maybe my 7th grader's mock draft.
Drama.
Wouldn't that be funny if John Lynch came on and said, here's who we're taking?
Yes, it would be hilarious. It ain't going to happen,
I'm tired of y'all guessing. Let's think about what we talk about. All right, we are going over to ESPN 2. Get Up is next.
Good morning. It is time to get up with the week we've been waiting for. T-minus 3 days and counting. Have the Niners made their choice? We've got the latest. Meanwhile, the Patriots figure to be in the middle of most of it, including a huge trade involving a superstar player. We'll tell you exactly who. And once and for all, what will Dallas do to shake up the top 10 in pursuit of the one player everybody wants? Those are the questions. We've got the answers as we get up with you the week of the draft. Get up on ESPN. Greeny in New York, delighted you were here. And look who's coming along for the ride. Getting up with us this morning, Diana Rossini, who was breaking stories. Mel Kiper, who was sugar rushing on pumpkin pie. Dominique Foxworth, who hates pumpkin pie. And Tim Hasselbeck, who I've never asked one way or the other. We'll get to the bottom of all of that, but we begin as we must. With the NFL draft, we are 3 days away, and all of the questions center around the quarterbacks. Is this the year the Patriots draft one? They haven't taken one in round one since 1993. But Cam Newton is currently scheduled to be their starter. They may look to add some help there. Meanwhile, 2 teams have already moved into the top 10 this year. Could we see more moving in? Atlanta, Detroit, Carolina, all possibly trading down as teams consider coming up for quarterbacks. And of course, all eyes are on San Francisco. The 49ers are picking third. Kyle Shanahan has never drafted a quarterback in the first round as a head coach. The assumption is they'll be taking Jimmy G's replacement. The question is who? This is how the top 10 of the NFL draft looks right now. It is, of course, subject to change. We'll get into all of that, but it does feel as though 4, 7, and 8 are likely spots for teams to move out. Meanwhile, Diana, the draft really does start at number 3. What do we know about where the 49ers are as far as making their decision?
Yeah, it certainly starts in San Francisco. And we know Kyle Shanahan he's really the star of this offense. He's not looking for a star quarterback. He's looking for a quarterback that works in his system, which is why this is such a hard decision for San Francisco as they continue to mull over, go over the information, watch the tape to make the call at quarterback. When we look back and they traded up, they had their eyes on Mac Jones. That's when all signs were pointing to Mac Jones. And it made so much sense. His accuracy, his strong pocket presence, his high football intellect. It almost screamed Kyle Shanahan and what he likes. But of course, we've seen more quarterbacks work out. We've seen more pro days, and they've done more homework on other guys. So now here the 49ers are on Monday, just a few days away after making a gigantic trade, perhaps one of the biggest trades that San Francisco has made in a draft in decades, and they are still making a decision here, Greeny.
It's remarkable when you think about it. Let me bring the crew in on this conversation here if I can, because I want to get Mel, Chrissy, if we can. Let's get Mel in here. There we go. Mel Kiper. So you hear it. They're still making up their minds. What is your sense of this? If you are sitting there, you're watching all this play out. You've mocked Mac into that spot because that just seems to be the conventional wisdom. But what is your sense of where we stand right now at number 3?
Hard for me, Greeny, because you have ratings and you have mock drafts, and you got to put the both separately. So if you go from a rating standpoint, for me, it's Justin Fields. It's pretty obvious that's the pick, but that's not going to be the pick. You heard from the get-go, from the intel you have talking to teams, that it's going to be Mac Jones or Trey Lance. That's the decision, not Justin Fields. So I gave it like 70% Jones, 20% Lance, 10% Fields. And I would probably maintain that. I think when you go from 12 to 3, you better know who you want. If it's 2 guys and you have to figure it out, like Diana said, fine, great. I agree with that, no problem. So I'm kind of all over the place here, Greeny, because I would take Justin Fields. It would be easy for me, but you knew from the get-go it was going to be Jones, probably, with Lance, a possibility.
Dominique, what is your sense of this? We're 3 days away, and Diana's telling us they haven't made up their minds yet. What do you take away from that big picture?
Yeah, I mean, I think Diana is being a responsible reporter in this condition, but I think I'm starting to have to accept what everyone is saying as much as I don't want to, accept that Mac Jones is going to end up in San Francisco. But Diana said something interesting at the top, that they're looking for the quarterback that fits their system. And I could understand that as a rationale. And honestly, even though I don't agree with it, and I've seen Kyle Shanahan's system change depending on the quarterback, like I kind of respect the idea of them thumbing their nose at all of our analysis and saying, we know who we got. We'll find out if they're right or wrong at some point, but you have to trust your own analysis and not go on necessarily public opinion. While I am leaning towards public opinion, and I see the threat of Justin Fields in that offense as being much scarier than the threat of Mac Jones or even Trey Lance. I see that as much more intimidating than Mac Jones, but Kyle Shanahan's a slightly better football